Hey guys, Matt back from the trade room floor at CP Plus. Now normally these videos go on to the photo news and review channel, but I've been wanting to get this 58 1.4G to test out for ages. So I'm actually going to do some head-to-head comparisons with the 50 1.4, my own one, to see how it really performs and how much better it is. I find it really interesting the way this one's been marketed. It didn't come out with much hype. The press releases didn't hype it up that much, but this one's selling for around the same price as the 85 1.4. And it's big money considering it's just a 50mm to 58mm. It is a different construction, but I just find it interesting. Like Otis are out there, Zeiss saying how it's the best manufactured lens in the world, on the market, full stop today. Leica's always about how amazing their stuff is, but the Nikon one, they just didn't really hype it up that much at all. So I really want to test it out. The sample shots I've seen look really good. First of all, let's have a look over the top of it and see how it really compares to the 50 1.4.
Okay, let's take a look at these lenses side by side. And I want to point out that I'm not comparing this to the 50mm as an easy win or to denigrate the 50mm. I own that lens and I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic lens. But looking at them, you can see the 58 is a bit longer, but it's significantly wider, around 2 centimeters or a bit over 20mm wider than the 50mm. And it's about 100 grams heavier. That's about 30% heavier. They both have 9-blade rounded apertures. The construction of the 58 is slightly more advanced at 9 elements in 6 groups, but it's not an overly complex setup. It does have new coatings, however. The front filter thread on the 58 is a lot bigger at 72mm, but you'll note the actual major front glass element is not that big, and this is weather sealed. It's worth noting the 58 has a much further closest minimum focus of 58 centimeters, so the maximum reproduction is actually significantly less than it is on the 50mm.
Okay, so thoughtfully, these are all unlocked cameras that we're able to shoot with ourselves. So I'm going to pop my SD card into their D800 and let's have a couple of sample shots, see how it focuses, and we'll compare it to my 50mm.
I have to say, in terms of usability and shooting with this lens, I did not see much of a difference between the 50mm 1.4 or 1.8G lenses. It has the same feel, and I found the focus is just fine. You can probably see there by the contrast of me to the model, they've absolutely flooded that scene with light. So all of these shots were done, at fast apertures, which meant our shutter speed was like 1,000th of a second. So no chance of a blurry handheld shot here. Let's take a look. This was shot at 1.4, wide open, and on the wide shot, it looks just lovely. Beautifully soft in the background and foreground, the out of focus areas. These were their camera, their lens, so hopefully it was all calibrated right. Shot in RAW, single focus point on the eye, basic processing. Let's go into 100%. And I have to say, it's not blowing me away. The focus is slightly forward, so take that into account. But in terms of the sharpness and contrast, it's not blowing my mind. Let's just put it that way. This is a lens that they're charging the same as the 85 1.4G pretty much, and it is what it is. Let's take a look at f2.8. There, obviously, the background is not as soft, but going in close, it is sharpening up there on the areas that are in good focus. And then at f4, same story, but it's certainly starting to sharpen up there and get a lot more contrast through the shot than we were getting at f1.4. Let's jump back out to f2 there. Still, on the wide shot, it's pretty good. I mean, this is a nice lens, no doubt about it, but if you're going to pay a big premium for a f1.4 lens, then you expect a lot more for it, right? So here we go, that's at 1.4. Again, going in close, you do have a tiny depth of field at that kind of aperture, of course, but there's just not absolute clarity or great contrast wide open. But it's really not something you'd notice until you go to print your images or look at them 100%. The experience of shooting it and how they looked on the back of the camera was nice.
Okay, so it's coming up a treat, but let's compare it head to head with the 50mm. So it's noticeably closer, obviously, but I'm not going to be able to tell a real quality difference until we get it home.
So here we are on the 50mm. Taking a look at these, there it is up close. I think, a lot of lenses suffer only the very, very best stand up to full 100% scrutiny. Looking at the 58, obviously that's a different model and the skin tone complexion is different, but I do think the 58mm is overall a cooler lens. I think it is discernibly sharper, but not amazingly so. But of course, there's more to lens quality than just sharpness.
Let's do a little comparison of video, shall we? Here we are with the 51.4. Gonna leave these on all the same settings. And then the 58 1.4. So this is on tracking focus, it seems. It's following her face.
Of course, that's a function of how well the camera tracks. This was on the D800, but still looking at this one compared to the 50mm, it looks obviously cooler, right? Reminder, these are on the same camera and same settings.
Let's do a little contrast test on my Nikon logo.
This is a fairly boring test shot, but let us use it to demonstrate three things. One, the bokeh, the out of focus areas. Two, the contrast, how it handles extreme white to extreme dark, and then color fringing. This is on the 58mm. As we go in on 100% crop, you can see the telltale haze in the background there on the D800E. The contrast ratio for a normal lens is pretty good, and although it doesn't look super crisp, there isn't too much chromatic aberration there. To put it in context, here's the 50mm and up close, and you'll notice there much more chromatic aberration, but for my money, the contrast is pretty much as on par.
So I guess the question that's left for me then is the 50mm enough, or is two slightly different models worth having? Or do you need to get rid of one? So, 58mm, I do think even by looking on the screen and feeling its performance just here on the stand without reviewing 100% images, that it is clearly a big step ahead the 50mm 1.4.
Okay, I have to self-censor here. Having seen the performance of them on screen now, I think there is a noticeable difference, definitely. The aberration definitely is better. The slightly longer focal length, I think it's slightly sharper, and I think it's obviously a cooler lens than the 50mm. But for me, it's not a big enough difference to justify the price. You know, I'm all for owning prestige stuff and being willing to pay a premium for that extra, last few percent, that certain something. What it takes a Formula One car from a minute lap to a 59-second lap might make all the difference and cost 10 times the price for that small increment change. But I don't think for most situations, the slight improvement you're going to see on this guy is worth the $1,200 premium. Looking at what the 85mm 1.4G does, and it's around the same money, I think it outperforms this one by far. Okay, so this is enough Police Academy style out of sync voiceover. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon, guys.